Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a genuinely fascinating book called A Guide to the Good Life. Now, honestly, A Guide to the Good Life is a slightly hard title to trust, isn't it? It sounds so incredibly gentle, almost like one of those framed quotes you'd see hanging in a waiting room. But this book, written by William B. Irvine, actually delivers a brutal, brilliant examination of why our wants just keep eating our lives. Irvine is asking a really profound question here. Why do we keep adding goals, only to find that our lives feel somehow thinner? He argues it's absolutely not because we're weak, it's because we've trained our desire to act like a scoreboard. You know the drill. We win approval, we avoid pain, we upgrade our lifestyle, and we stay busy enough to completely dodge the underlying void. But then, one day, success arrives, and it's carrying the exact same hunger we started with. And that is exactly where this book cuts in. Look at the cup before you fill it. This is the core issue we're facing. We chase more, not necessarily because we're so wonderfully ambitious, but because we've literally stopped tasting what's already ours. The mistake is already in the room with us. We genuinely think that having more life, more status, more comfort, more love, more undeniable proof of our worth will finally make us feel more alive. We tell ourselves, okay, once I get this next thing, then I'll rest. Then our minds will finally stop constantly scanning the horizon for the next upgrade. But as we're going to see in A Guide to the Good Life, that horizon just keeps moving. And here is the reality slap from the book. Hedonic drift turns gain into your baseline. It's not a tragedy, actually. It's just a basic mechanism of human adaptation. You get the prize you work so incredibly hard for, but then very quickly, the new thing just becomes the normal thing. And then the normal thing becomes entirely invisible to you. Eventually, that invisible thing transforms into something you subconsciously fear losing. And this fear, it simply disguises itself as ambition. Your life didn't shrink when you succeeded, but your ability to taste it sure did. Your wins just keep fading into background furniture. So throughout this book, we're going to examine the specific want that makes calm basically impossible. We aren't going to look at how to get more, we're going to look at what we can actually learn to want. Think about this. What if joy isn't won by constantly adding things to your life? What if joy is actually recovered by seeing loss before it arrives? How do we stop wasting our presence before a devastating loss forces us to pay attention? Section 1. Absence as an Instrument. The Stoic Diagnosis. In this book, William B. Irvine takes Stoicism out of the ancient marble and makes it a highly practical, everyday tool. He starts with a medical-style diagnosis. We suffer twice. First from what actually happens to us, and then from the heavy, exhausting story we tell ourselves that says it absolutely must not happen. Now look, it is perfectly sane to believe that if you imagine loss, you'll just become morbid. The old model tells us to protect our good things from dark thoughts so we can enjoy them more. It's a kind belief. It really is. I wish it were true. But look at where it actually leads. Avoided loss keeps its full shock value. If you avoid imagining absence, your presence just turns bland. You start treating each ordinary day like a rough draft, postponing your gratitude until your life feels completely safe. But here's the thing. Life never feels entirely safe. So your gratitude just becomes an event indefinitely postponed to the future. And that gap between wanting permanence and the messy reality of the world just becomes constant humming anxiety. This brings us to the book's core concept, negative visualization. This is Irvine's third path. You don't rehearse loss to hate your life or to be gloomy, not at all. You rehearse loss to actually taste your life. The practice isn't about creating internal drama. It's entirely about sensory calibration. It's a precision tool used to remind your brain of the massive value of what is sitting right in front of you. Here's how it works. You simply let your mind touch absence for just one breath. You imagine losing the thing, and then you immediately return to the thing. Suddenly, the present returns with an incredibly clean edge. You realize, wow, the child is still laughing. The key still turns in the lock. My hand still opens. My friend still answers the phone. This chair is still holding me. You recognize that you've been completely surrounded by miracles that you had carelessly renamed normal. That brief moment of mental silence isn't absence. It is the contrast required to see again. Section 2. Control without ownership. The anchor of the empty cup. We can think of this using the metaphor of an empty cup at dawn. Before you ask the world for more, you notice what was handed back to you this morning. A tongue can go entirely blind from tasting too much sweetness, right? You need a sharp taste to reset the palate, and negative visualization is exactly that sharp taste. To maintain this contrast, William B. Irvine introduces a really vital framework called the trichotomy of control. Essentially, some things are up to us, some things are entirely not up to us, and some things are only partly shaped by us. In that messy middle zone, the Stoic method is internalizing the goal. You have to remember that control is absolutely not the same as ownership. Think of a sailor. They don't command the stars, but they use them to navigate.
In the same way, you command your aim, your craft, and your internal effort, but you do not command the external weather or the crowd.
This framework completely shatters the modern lie that peace only comes after external proof. Outcome worship tells you that you can only rest after the applause, after the promotion, after everyone finally agrees you won. That just makes life frantic and anxious. On the other extreme, fate worship says nothing matters anyway, leading to a hollow, passive surrender. The Stoic takes a totally different path and moves the proof of success entirely inward. Did I act with care? Did I choose well? Did I meet insult without becoming its echo? You still compete, you still love, but you stop handing your internal weather over to external verdicts. Here is exactly how we apply this daily. You take an external goal and rewrite it into an internal one, which keeps your effort incredibly clean. So instead of trying to win the meeting, your goal becomes speak with clarity. Instead of aiming to be admired, you aim to act with dignity. Instead of the completely impossible goal to keep everyone forever, you simply focus on trying to love them awake today. You don't ask the sky to lower itself, you raise your own sight. Section 3. Discomfort as hard evidence. Disciplined participation. Stoicism isn't just about practicing gratitude. It is active, bodily training for insult, aging, and eventually death. William B. Irvine doesn't sell us some fantasy of escape. He offers us a practical rehearsal for reality. Because let's be honest, we face a genuine tension here. Do we armor up and care less so that loss cannot hurt us? Or do we stay radically open and risk being completely devastated by the world? Both of those temptations are very real and both contain their own kind of pain. Irvine's third path resolves this through disciplined participation. You act fiercely on what actually belongs to you, and you gracefully release what never did. It's not passivity, it is incredibly clean ownership. To train for this, the book introduces the concept of voluntary discomfort. Now wait, this isn't about putting on a performance of purity or punishing yourself in some weird way. It's a highly practical, small inoculation against panic. You just occasionally go without a comfort on purpose. It could be intentionally underdressing for a cold walk, skipping a single meal, or maybe taking a cold shower. You purposely experience the minor chill, the small hunger, the slight inconvenience. By doing this, you're teaching your body and your desire that lack is actually survivable. You're giving your mind hard physical evidence that you can lose ease without losing yourself. Then, when that comfort returns, it suddenly feels less like oxygen you desperately need and much more like a beautiful gift. Training during times of ease ensures that luxury doesn't suddenly turn into a leash around your neck. You have options during strain because you've already visited discomfort before the crisis ever arrived. Section 4. The Taste of Borrowed Joy. The Lease on Life. A Guide to the Good Life builds to a massive reversal here. The good life isn't about making everything more secure or locking down your assets. It is simply about being more awake. The philosophy doesn't promise that nothing will ever break. Instead, it trains you to stop wasting what is currently whole. So the crucial takeaway is this: your work, your health, your people, and your time, they are all borrowed. And acknowledging this isn't bleak at all, it's incredibly bright. Irvin gives a specific example of kissing your child goodnight while silently realizing they are mortal. Recognizing these things as borrowed actually makes them glow, precisely because you realize they can leave. It allows your love to move away from suffocating possession and step into pure presence. You stand near beauty without frantically trying to freeze it in time. The Stoic sees the lease on life and then lives with absolute care. To make this really concrete, here is a practical exercise directly from the book to try tonight. First, name one borrowed joy before sleep. Second, rehearse its absence for just one breath. And third, thank it with one clean axe tomorrow. Just one thing. It could be a room, a skill, a morning ritual, a body part that still serves you. Name it as borrowed, touch the absence, return. This isn't blind optimism, guys. This is true contact with your life. It is refusing to let untamed desire erase your days. The cup was empty at the start of this book. Hopefully now it is full enough for you to truly see it. I'm going to leave you with this single question to let the weight of this philosophy settle. What would become enough if you knew it could vanish?